What's up everybody, Modwalker here to play Finding Frankie. Today we're not just diving into the game, we're taking you out of bounds in this Fall Guys style horror mascot game. And there's a lot of cool things that you can't see that are just right off screen or they're hidden in the shadows. Starting off with the title screen, it's not just a static, screen, it's just a PNG image where we can interact, it's an actual level. So in theory, if we can get our mesh skeleton out there, we can play this entire course. I haven't figured out how to do that quite yet, but I did find the code and all the objects names, so maybe I'll be able to spawn different entities and whatnot and make the game more challenging or like mod it in some way. But a cool thing they do here is like a perspective, like depth perception here with Frankie. He's 3 times his normal size. It's a pretty neat optical illusion to do for a title sequence. The first time I saw this, I couldn't stop laughing. We run like a goofy headless monster. Just exploring the title screen just a little bit more, this map is giant. And it is littered with old contestants. Like they couldn't make it that far and then just splat, gone, So it's a little bit ruined. It's really cool though, but I don't know how this would work in a real game setting. And the effects they use on the cutscene makes it look really cool. At the start of the game, you're given a short intro into the Frankieverse, but right outside that door, you have 3 other contestants who vary in size. And then you got Frankie just T-posing, waiting to attack you in the room next door. But even his moving animation is also just a T-posing Frankie till the door opens, and I think he just disappears and a new Frankie takes his spot to attack the contestants, because it's kind of like a little cutscene because everything there is scripted in a certain way. So if you do touch Frankie, you can die, but pretty much the contestants die and then you escape the room, and then Frankie just pauses on eating the other contestant, and then the third contestant who got away just grows back into a giant again for some reason. Then a little close up into the contestant's point of view, which is absolutely terrifying. Like I would not want to see this at all. No thank you. In the lobby at the 2nd floor, we have a secret message from Frankie, which just reiterates what he says in the end of the game. So you're normally never supposed to see this, but again, out of bounds, I can see it. Here's Frankie. He's watching you from the very first moment you get into the game. He's just watching you. I'm pretty sure in every major level, he's somewhere out of bounds or like within the shadows. And then you got Frankie over here being a little silly goose by being contorted in such a way that he's below the map itself. He's not even in the Jack-in-the-Box box, like he's just under it because he's so big. But I do believe once they polish everything up and whatnot, this is going to be a terrifying game. And cool thing that you don't normally see is the third person of you dying in the game. So this is what it looks like. For Hotline Henry's area, I felt like it was a little too small, and I was right. While exploring Henry's zone, I found a bunch of unused assets, different areas and whatnot that aren't incorporated, and some partially built courses as well. But hey, that's the state of games we get nowadays. But it also makes going out of bounds a lot more exciting because I get to see stuff that most people can't see right away. They have to wait till the game is done to see all this stuff, but I get to see it early. And then I get to make videos about it and show off what I find, which is why I think most devs don't add lighting to their backgrounds anymore, because everything can stay hidden in the darkness. Like with this game, anytime I try to add a light bulb or a light source and something else loads in the game, it crashes because it just can't handle me seeing things that are out of bounds when I want to see them. But I digress. Going off a little bit further into the game, you go through the vents, you pop down, you have this little telephone guy who goes off into the void, and then he just blinks out of existence. Here's Frankie in the vents from a different point of view. Again, just as terrifying as looking straight up and seeing a monster just drooling on top of you, just waiting to eat you. And then he gets told by the announcer, hey, don't eat him just yet. He goes back in the vent and he goes back to his waiting animation in case, the guy changes his mind. No amount of lights in this area would show whatever this shadow was, so I just think it was a shadow going through the vents. During the first chase sequence, Frankie is just behind the wall T-posing at us menacingly. If you ever get caught by Frankie, you get transported to the end of the game, near the hex blocks, but separated in its own little space. So we know 2 things about Frankie. 1, he has teleporting abilities, which makes him stronger than Huggy Wuggy. And 2, like, I don't know if you guys are seeing this game like I'm seeing it, but they literally just cave your chest in to end your life. He does it, Henry Hotline snaps your neck, and then the noobs, they just, they nude at you until you die. The other Frankie sets all these traps up, like, this place isn't a fun time to be a contestant, but $500 million is $500 million, Going back to the chase sequence, the mascots in this game actually open the doors instead of just phasing through them, which is a super cool detail. It makes it more realistic and terrifying. But circling back to what I said earlier about the other Frankie just watching you, here he is just chilling behind the fence, and normally you can't see him because it's so dark. The small details really do make a game great. Like Frankie here has a collision box with other objects and not just the player. Exploring Deputy Duck's area, you can see a minor mistakes the devs did, and you can see Frankie's ears poke out of the ground because he's in a running animation, they bob up and down, and because he's already in the moving animation, he's ready just to zip by the window, which is another area concern, because unless there's one-way painted windows that I don't know about, this little area right here it's not physically possible. But again, it's a game, so I'll let it slide. I thought this part was hilarious when I first saw it. Deputy Duck just floats up into existence and goes quack. Looking at this from a different angle, the bit with Deputy Duck falling is kind of neat because the cutscene doesn't use your character model, but two floating arms that are twice your normal size, so when you pick them up, you throw him against the wall, which contorts your arms kind of weirdly. Then it all disappears and you spawn back into existence. Henry Hotline's character is a pretty cool concept. It's an AI that's gotten tired of being called by kids nonstop, so he just snaps. The character model in the maze is a little goofy because sometimes he spawns in and sometimes he just randomly deloads and you can complete his little challenge area relatively fast. His chase sequence is pretty neat for a few reasons. One, your death animation is generally right where he catches you, so you're not teleported to a random spot. Two, you can get caught by Frankie, so there's two monsters in this area. Three, he actually chases you and is generally 1 to 2 mistakes behind you, so it's hard for you to stop and collect all the stuffed animals. At least for me, I kept getting stuck on this one. Or the ending of the chase sequence makes sense because it's right there at the beginning where Frankie is. So once you escape Henry, he opens the door and then just deloads and you get the audio of Frankie attacking him. I kind of wish they had the two fighting off screen. It would have been cool to see out of bounds. There's not really much to see here. I was bored and I thought this was funny. At the entrance to the last level, Frankie's Frosted Peak, the keys are already loaded in the game right above the door. One neat trick they did was make letters and words be their own little entities so that they can have its own shadow and they don't have to code that in or draw that in and whatnot. I was trying to break out of this area because they encase you in an invisible box so you can't leave this little scripted area. So no matter how small I got or how big I got, I couldn't leave it. Going back to the game, just a different angle of both Frankies in the sewers. The evil one's walking above us and he just disappears off screen. He just flies up like Mach speed. And then the other helping us, he lifts up the door, and once the door shuts, he just teleports out of existence, just gone as well. It turns out Frankie didn't just disappear at Mach speed, but he was actually transported to the next area. And so these arms aren't just arm models scanning for the player, it's actually Frankie above us with his arms stretched out to the extreme, trying to grab us. At Frankie's Beach, you can actually find Frankie out in the open, just recording us for the live feed. Then in Frosted Peaks, he's watching us from the balcony, and he's also in the CEO's office just making weird sounds. Unfortunately, Frankie is immune to the slime. Can't kill him. This area is pretty dark, so the words are really hard to see, and with everything moving and whatnot, you couldn't just stay in one spot to read them. But now we can read what it all says. You guys can pause the video if you want to read it. So this part was really mean. I thought the other Frankie wanted to help us, but he just slams an imaginary door on our face and we fall down to the final level. But I didn't know he shut an imaginary door on us until I came to this view. I thought he just smacked us unconscious, honestly. The final level, Hexa Havoc, was a cool concept taken from Fall Guys and just made into a final level, which again, really cool because you're being chased by a monster that can sometimes grab you and sometimes he can't grab you. His like hitbox is a little weird, but what really made it cool was the new dupe cabinets. Like those things just came out of nowhere, just yelling at you. The ending cutscene for Hexa Havoc isn't an MP3, but it's a script in the game, so we can watch this from different angles. At the final level, we have the other just chilling behind the door, not T-posing, so he's actually in an active mode right now. And then the $500 million is just a bunch of assets, and it's not a wraparound PNG. There's more out-of-bounds shenanigans going on that I didn't show, mainly because there's kill boxes everywhere. And then once a new area loads in, my actual character falls into the void hitting a kill box, so I can't really explore too far. I hope you all enjoy this new format that I'm trying. I'm actually putting an effort into my videos, doing the voiceover, script writing, and editing. So if you did enjoy the video, do leave a like, subscribe, and comment. It does help out. Or not, I'm not your dad, don't really have to. But again, thanks for watching the video all the way up to this point. I do appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. See you.